Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ash Harris, and this is
Pat O.
Pat. Oh, I almost forgot our intro for a second, and but then it just
What?
spilled out of me, autopilot style, like a trained assassin. Anyway,
Like
how was your
sitting up too
weekend?
quick after some loving, right? Just fucking
Yes.
spilled out onto the sheets. Um, Weekend was good. I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room. I DJ'd for the first time in 13 years, and it was fucking fantastic. People danced, which is a novel concept for a lot of DJs. A lot of DJs think they're not really there to make people dance. They're there to play old Sam Cooke 45s and whatever the fuck that's about. And no, that is not the way I was raised, ladies and gentlemen. I am from the old school where DJs are there to match beats on records and make motherfuckers move their feet. And that's exactly what I did. So
Good.
yeah, it was a good time, and I want to thank everybody that showed up and danced and shit because you made me look really good and you made me feel even better. So it definitely not the last time that'll happen. I'm not obviously I have entirely too many fucking hobbies at this point. And this was like the last thing I needed was for this to go well because like I don't have enough shit going on, but I'll do it again and stay tuned and there'll be details and thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know some people came out. Annie, I love you so much. Thank you for coming out. Friends of mine that I haven't seen in a while that listen to this show still. And that still blows my mind when I sit down in a bar next to somebody that I've known for 15 years and they say, I haven't seen you in a while, but I listen to your podcast and I love it. I'm glad you're doing what
Oh,
you're doing. Yeah, Annie, I'm gonna take a second and sing her praises because I was having terrible anxiety about this, and I was completely sober. I had a wedding that night. My nephew got married. I didn't drink at all at the wedding because I had two options, right? Either I go into this sober or I go into this completely fucking shit faced, right? So I chose to go into it sober, but then unfortunately my anxiety was really high, and I hadn't seen Annie in a while, and she was kind of like talking me down from it. But she was, and I don't know if I ever told her this, but I know she's listening right now. So here you go, babe. Um, the first person to tell me about the Mothman.
interesting.
Yeah, I remember. Now I had seen the movie, the Richard Gere movie,
Sure.
and I just thought it was a movie. I didn't even know that was like a thing,
Well, in all
right?
fairness, the Mothman was never even in the movie, but
Right. But the when Mothman Prophecies or Mothman Chronicles or whatever that movie was called, Prophecies. And she was like she has like a UFO tattoo on her forearm. And I had known her because she was dating a friend of mine and we were just always in proximity of each other and we kind of became friends and we would party a lot and she used to come see me DJ a lot because I would DJ on the north side. She lived on the north side, and we just kind of started talking about UFOs and shit. And she was like, "Oh, like, have you, She's like, "What's your favorite cryptid?" I don't think anybody had ever asked me that fucking question before. You know what I mean? Like, because this is like 2003, which I know isn't like that long ago, but
I mean, cryptids were
definite.
still a thing.
Right, but it wasn't like it. Like the internet was kind of still in its
Yeah, I gotcha.
infancy. It wasn't. We weren't like where we're at now with stuff. And I was like cryptid, like what? I don't know. Like what the fuck are you talking about? Like I don't really give a shit about Bigfoot or anything. And she's like, no. Have you ever heard of Mothman? I was like, no. She's like, really? They made a movie about it. I'm like, oh, that thing where the bridge collapsed. And I just remember her talking about it. You should read this book and all this stuff. And she was like an OG of my weird friends. Like some of my friends you could talk to about music, and some of my friends you could talk to about movies or comics or whatever. But she was like my first friend that I could do this with. What I do with you every week is that was me and Annie when we got fucked up. And record store day at Rock Island, there was 12 DJs, and her fiance was another one of the DJs on the playing that day. And they hung out after his shift to listen to mine, and it meant the world to me. So
That
thank
was
you.
nice.
Yeah, her and Joe, they're good people. Every time you start to lose, you turn on the news and you lose faith in humanity, and you want to throw yourself off a bridge because fucking
Because
what's
Mothman's
his
going to collapse it anyway.
yeah, or whatever. Then you remember Joe and Annie, and you're like, oh, good people do exist, and they do find each other, and love is real, and all that stuff. So
Aww.
that was my. And then what else did I do this weekend? I recorded a shit ton of episodes for Y2K movies because it's going to be a busy couple weeks, and me and Danny just sat down and cranked it out. So we did Evil Dead Rise. We did Quasi, which is the new Broken Lizard movie that just dropped on Hulu. And then we did another movie that's on Hulu called I'm Totally Fine, which I had never heard of before and was pleasantly surprised with. It's kind of a chick flick from the people that brought you Workaholics. And I know those two things don't seem like they would work together, but they do. And really good kind of not really popular movie, but it's definitely worth checking out. It's on Hulu as well. So those episodes will be coming out in the upcoming weeks. And that's kind of it. Oh, Show Us Your Crits. That starts on Thursday. So watch me kind of YouTube if my camera's working. But
and if your kid's room isn't a fucking pigsty.
No, it's motherfucker's clean. I can attest to that right now. I am this is my new recording studio. I've been sleeping up here for the past couple minutes too. So this is this place is in order. So I will not be humiliated on webcam again. Yet again.
Yet again. Fucking kids.
Just whatever. So how was your weekend? What's going on? How you been?
Oh gosh.
You got so much you got bigger news than I did. I fucking shit.
I have lots of things happening. I had a terrible day on Tuesday. I woke up and I had a really bad dental infection. And as you guys know, I've talked about my teeth before. I'm going to talk about them again. And I went to my doctor, and then I was like sad for days. I mean, they had to give me an antibiotic shot. I'm still on antibiotics. It's still here. It's been a pretty big to-do. My mom, I guess out of fear of losing me as her child. Sorry, my cat was, of course, I'm fighting cats. My mom called and made me a dentist appointment at a dentist somehow. I don't know how. She like dedicated the whole day to just, figuring out who I can go to. And, so I went in on Thursday, and I will have teeth, by the end of this month. So
by the end of April or by the end of May?
By the end of May, I guess.
Okay.
Not this month. It's already the 24th. April's over.
No, I got you. I'm not being argumentative. I'm just double checking.
Within a month, I will be doing that whole ordeal. So it's it's a scary situation, but it's also a very positive situation, and I think that it will be a big to-do. How will this affect the show? I don't know yet. I've never had all of my teeth pulled before and then prosthetic teeth put in my face. So there will be some learning curve. I'm not sure what. I don't know if we're going to pre-record some episodes. I know we haven't really talked about it much. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And it has to get done. But I will still be at Monster Fest June 3rd, and you can come see my teeth.
Wow.
And I'll even take them out and let you touch them.
I wouldn't recommend that. I've seen the people that show up to these things. Do not leave that shit in your mouth, please.
I mean, I'll wash them in between, touches.
Yeah, we'll get a bowl. Yeah, we'll have like a thing of Barbicide at the table that you can dip them in.
I'll my teeth out, and you guys can put them in your mouth.
Oh God, no! This is not what you do with these things. Are we gonna have to fucking I don't to train you all over again?
I am 1,000. Yeah, I haven't had teeth in almost a decade. I am very prepared to get weird with my fake teeth, and
oh,
I can't wait. It's been hilarious. My daughter, she's we're totally against it. She's like, no, she's like, it's gonna look like you have doll teeth. She doesn't like that.
Here's what I think you need to mentally prepare yourself with. It's gonna look weird to you at first.
It's gonna look really weird.
What? Yeah, weird. You're gonna be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
But to people, I don't know. We've hung out a handful of times, but not so much to where I'm not gonna recognize you or something. But you're not gonna recognize yourself.
Yeah.
It's for you. You're gonna be like, "What the fuck is this?" And you're gonna think you made a mistake. And you're gonna be like, "This doesn't look right." But what looks right to you isn't right. So it's just don't worry about that. Cross that bridge when you get to it.
There's a whole range of emotions that come with it. I've been researching this topic for a long time and following lots of people on their denture journey. And I'm pretty confident that I should be able to talk okay. I mean, I've been asking people, I'm like, is that really, because some people are like, I just can't even talk. And I'm like, is that really an issue? Because, like, if you guys are just talking about a list, but like, I already got that going on. If it's just going to go away eventually, that's fine. Can't be much worse than it is now. So,
it's whatever, man. It's,
it's right.
You'll figure it out.
So it'll be, interesting. But that was basically, that was my weekend. I spent my weekend babying myself. I didn't even get to go to the shop this weekend to finish up the finishing touches on the Alien art exhibit coming up. I am still going to that. So this week I go in and I'm going to freely talk about my tooth journey, because I think it's important to talk about because, like, people still think that dentures are for old people, and they're not.
Well, gives a fuck the fact that I DJ'd? If I could talk about my stupid shit, you could talk about your life-altering fucking journey.
Talk about whatever I want. I guess it is my show, right? I own the copyright. I get to go on Wednesday. They're going to take impressions on my mouth, and then I have to wait 3 weeks for my teeth to be done. At the 3-week mark, I go in, they take everything that's in there, whatever's left that's in there, they're going to take it out, and they're going to pop teeth right in my mouth right away. So that's pretty cool because I was not expecting to be able to do that because I'm paying a lot of fucking money for these fake teeth. And they're not my permanent teeth. Eventually I go and get permanent teeth. It's kind of a weird thing. But some people that can't afford, the immediate dentures, my God, they have to go like a year without fucking teeth. And that's just an injustice, and I'm angry about it, and I think that more should be done for people and their luxury bones, so.
Here.
So that's what I did, and then I started, I was just kind of trying to be nice to myself. I did Joe Bobbin on Friday night a little bit.
Yeah.
We watched, I don't even remember.
Now you've seen those movies before, right?
I had never seen The Beyond.
Okay.
But I had seen Zombie. That's right. Zombie's great.
Mm-hmm.
Love that ending. Fantastic. I'm not going to give it away, but just watch it and sit through the whole fucking. The movie itself is good. Slow. I feel like it's slow, but it picks up. It's worth it. It's worth the wait. The payoff is great. It's a good movie. The Beyond was okay. I did fall asleep watching it. So I'll have to probably watch it again. Joe Bob's pretty late, so. But I did watch Bone Tomahawk.
Oh. Okay.
Well, people have been telling me for years to watch this. It's right up your alley. Watch Bone Tomahawk.
What'd you think?
So I put out a call out on social media for people to send me their body horror movie suggestions. Because it's my favorite genre of movie.
Body horror.
Uh-huh. And
I saw that, but I don't know how. Would you consider Bone Tomahawk?
No, not at all. But I didn't know. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going down the list. That's the person suggested on there. But again, other people have suggested it to me. They're like, "Oh, you'll love this." Oh my God, I was fucking bored to death. I was so bored.
So that guy. First of all, it was a Western, which we don't get many of those these days. So okay, props for making a Western. That guy has a he is. He right at home with most of our audience has kind of a right-wing bent to him, and some of the movies that he makes are considered a little bit decisive. And there was a lot of outcry about that one because here we are going back to this stereotype that indigenous people are rapists and cannibals. Okay. Yep. And then he followed that movie up with a movie called Brawl in Cell Block 99, which is phenomenal. It's Vince Vaughn as a convict, and something happens, and he's got to basically go to jail to kill somebody, and it's his only way to get to this guy that they tell him, like, look, somebody fucked up, and to redeem this person, he's got to kill this person that's in jail. And the only way he can get in jail is by committing a crime, getting caught, and then beating the shit out of the guards and getting put in the hole so that he can be close to this guy. And it's a just phenomenal, brutal movie. And he also did a movie called Dragged Across the Concrete with your friend of mine, Mel Gibson. That's right, a 2018 movie with Mel Gibson, because that dude,
I didn't know he was still around.
Yes,
Fuck.
well, he is, and he's making movies with the guy from Bone Tomahawk, and that is a very pro cop, in an era where being pro cop isn't really the coolest thing in the schoolyard to be.
Hey, it's not the 80s anymore. Fuck.
Yeah, so that guy, his name is Greg Zahler, Greg Zahler. I don't know. I mean, Bone Tomahawk I thought was decent, but it is fucking long. It's something that I think I had to watch in 2 sittings. But it's nice to see a Western again. It's got a great cast too. It's Kurt
It does
Russell.
have a great cast, yeah.
Yeah. Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox, who should be in more shit. Lots of famous people.
It had a great cast. I'm not a Western fan. Oh yeah, Sid Haig was in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a Western fan. I don't like that. I don't like the racism on indigenous people.
Yeah.
One big fan of that, the kills were okay, and I guess that's what people were talking about. I mean, I guess that's what had everybody. I mean, they killed that one fucking guy. I don't know his name. He looks like Justin Long. I can't remember his name, but it wasn't. It was not Justin Long. So, not Justin Long had a pretty brutal kill, and I think that's what people think that I'm there for it. I don't know. I really didn't understand why this movie has been recommended to me over and over again, but I watched it, and it wasn't that good. So. I watched the whole thing, but I will continue my search on more body horror, and I said that I'm going to start watching my movies based on the Bloody Bits Horror Show podcast. Well, I'm still catching up on their podcast, the movies that I have seen. So I'll start a new episode of something that I watched, and then I just continue. So it'll happen.
Have you seen Contracted?
Yes, I have,
okay.
And the sequel.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to check.
Yeah, good movies in my book. Good movies. I love body horror. That's my thing.
Yeah, that's the last one that I remember that left an impression on me. As someone that just raw dogs life in general, a body horror movie about STDs. Whoa. I mean, I'm not saying it was enough to change my ways, but goddamn, did it come close.
It was done really well. It was.
It really made me think twice between plunging myself nakedly into a woman before the next time. Almost. It really, really almost had an effect on me, but not quite.
Well, if your eyeballs start looking fucking weird and you start growing veins all over your fucking face.
Shit on my lip and her teeth fall. Oh my god! I'm on IMDb right now, and you know how they show the trailer, and God, what? You were saying that you want to come on and do stuff before you want a podcast before your teeth go in and you're out of commission.
Yeah.
We should have you on Y2K to do the Contracted movies.
I'd be down for that. Like I said, I like both the first one and the sequel. I like the first one better than the sequel.
Second one wasn't. I got to see if the second one done by the same guy, because it takes place right after the first one, which was kind of interesting.
I feel like it probably isn't just because it's so different, but then again. If the guy's, if it's not okay, say if the guy's that artsy, then maybe it is the same guy.
Yeah.
And there was supposed to be a third, but it's never happened. So, but yeah, body horror. If you guys have body horror recommendations, let me know, and I will check them out. I mean, of course, I've seen most things that people are suggesting. Fucking yeah, I've already seen it. Come on, I already know it. I mean, I'm saying the term body horror. Clearly, I'm educated here.
Did you see Crimes of the Future, the new Cronenberg that came out last year?
Not seen that. No.
Okay.
It's on my list. Yeah.
Yes, I would definitely recommend. That was. I think we did I think that might have been one of. When we did our top 5 of last year, it was in there. It's solid, but it's like everything feels like long to me now. If it's not 83 minutes, it's too long.
Yeah. But I agree. Well, I needed to start right away, and it's really hard for me to be interested in a slow burn movie. I just can't. And most movies are that. And it's like, God damn it. I have ADHD, you fuckers. Cater to me, damn it. It's ableist bullshit. And you're not catering
bullshit.
to my fucking
your ableist bullshit 90-minute movies.
Fucking yeah. Exactly. Cancel that shit right there, internet. Come on, Twitter. Get on top of it. Sick of this. Except for Terrifier 2. Perfect. It was very long, but it was very good. It was great.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that is long.
But they did it right. So, be more like Terrifier 2. Fucking ableist ass movies. Anyway, so that's what I did. I just watched it all weekend and just was lazy. This weekend, I will be going back to the shop. I'm not feeling 100% yet, but I'm feeling better. And I need to finish this room because the weekend after that, guess what, you guys? May 6th, Fairborn, Ohio, at the Secret Chamber House of Oddities and Artwork, there's an alien invasion, and you're all invited. So bring your tinfoil hats. Get ready to be raptured by UFOs, and I'll be there. It's the last time you'll be able to see me without my teeth. So if you wanted to get that gummy in, now's the time.
Oh, quit offering that. Fucking.
I know, I gotta stop.
Yeah, it's just like, God.
All the pain
I had a nickel for every time I'm going to go to this event and I want to have my tits out. Yeah, okay. I've been to those events. You not pull your tits out, but.
Oh, I will absolutely pull my tits out at plenty of events. I've done it.
Monster Fest, June 3rd. Forget about the speakers on stage. The real show is going to be at, though, on Wednesdays. We Talk Weird booth.
It's going to be the after party. I can't just pull my tits out in public. I'll get arrested. But come to the after party. There'll be an after party. I'll pull my tits out. It's fine.
The 7-Eleven parking lot after party.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where it'll be. You got to be like, hey, Astros, what about your tits? I thought you were pulling them out. And I'm like, oh, fuck me. My guy, watch this. He'll challenge me. He'll challenge me pulling my tits out. I'll pull my tits out everywhere, except for in public because I don't want to get arrested.
All right, there you go.
Anyway, so that was my weekend. Do we want to do some, want to talk about some news?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I'm sure our listeners probably noticed, and I know that you noticed, Pato, and I definitely noticed, we didn't have a breaking news this week.
Oh, from the UAP thing?
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
It's because nothing happened, you guys.
Right.
Nothing of note anyway, I guess I should say. It's not nothing. I mean, it's just basically this dude requesting money for for their little organization. One thing that he did say, which goes against the entire fucking narrative that has been painted for not Arrow in particular, but the UAP disclosure bullshit. He said that, quote, Arrow has found no credible evidence thus far of extraterrestrial activity, off-world technology, or objects that defy the known laws of physics, which is not true.
Right.
So,
I will say it felt to me like they canceled this show early.
Yeah.
Like we're done with this plot line. We're gonna fire fucking Tucker Carlson next week or whatever the fuck they got rid of, and we're instigating Plan 7A. And it's like I was like, what? Like how could you fucking say this when everything you've said up until this point is the exact opposite of what you're saying right now?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
This is insane. Like it's not newsworthy, but it kind of is. Like what?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, they're changing the narrative. I don't want to get, and when I get to my news, I'll talk about what I'm going to talk about. But like, I hate to really get all tinfoil hatty and fucking conspiracy. But like, what the fuck? This is not. You are changing the fucking narrative here in front of our very eyes, and nobody really seems to notice. Or I mean, people like us are not surprised by it because we think we're gonna get disclosure. But
right.
You think that some of the people in the press that have been very objective about this, that have been very slow to reach this point, would take notice of the fucking total 180 that just happened. So I don't know.
Well, people probably did, right? I mean, aren't we kind of, in a way, considered the press? I mean, when we took notice of it, it's just that people like the big press, like AP and shit, like, they don't care. Don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Not really. They're not into it like that. They're not hanging on every word. They probably got new journalists in and out of that bitch every week. You know what I mean? That aren't following the story. But I agree. It should be brought to everybody's attention because that's not what we were told when this whole thing started. It's absolutely not. We were told that these are crafts that do perform maneuvers that defy physics. Okay. We were told that we have debris from these crafts. I'm not going to let that go. And now all of a sudden it's just like balloons and clutter and shit is basically what he said. Okay, serious?
Right. And how is that in the wake of is this narrative being affected by all the balloon shenanigans
Right.
of a couple weeks, couple I guess it was months ago at this point.
Yeah.
But that it's so bizarre. I
Yeah.
don't even know. It's like I'm not even interested in it anymore.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
Well, unfortunately, I have to keep up on it a little bit. We'll see what happens like next year, and then they'll be like, "Well, what we found is that those 650 reports did defy physics," and I don't know. I don't get the game being played here. It's unreliable. I mean, it's the same amount of credibility in the hands of this Arrow organization than it is in mine or fucking anybody else. Fucking Ryan Sprague, anybody else that's studying UFOs. Except for we don't backpedal like the government does. So,
Right.
support folks like me on Patreon, patreon.com/itsashers. Because I deserve your money more than the government does. So,
Right.
So that happened, but there was other, on the total flip side of these things aren't from another world. Right? We had this interesting post that went out by the Madison County Sheriff's Office over on Facebook. And Madison County had kind of put out a bulletin. They're investigating, and Madison County's in Texas. They're investigating these cattle mutilations that have been happening there. Did you read anything about this, Pato?
You know what? Honestly, I read something from our friend of the show, Adam from the Pine Barrens Institute, who notified us today that cattle mutilations aren't actually a thing. What's happening is that sometimes cows just do that. So I'm going with Pine Barrens Institute. It's an institute. Ashers sounds pretty legitimate to me, and the institute has concluded that sometimes cows just do that. So I think this is a false flag event. I think this is a hoax. And cows, what do you know about cows? How many cows you been in front of? How many cows have been in your kitchen? You don't know shit about cows. Don't try to pretend like you do.
I've had a couple cows in my kitchen before.
Hey, I've danced with a few myself. But according to Adam from the Pines Barrens Institute, a learned man of science, sometimes cows just do that.
Adam is, I'm going to tell you this, a wealth of fucking knowledge. He put out a tweet, I think it was today or yesterday. If you guys aren't following Adam at the Pine Barrens Institute over on Twitter, you're missing out. He put out this very indisputable theory about rods. Did you see this?
No, I did not.
So rods, for people that don't know, or as Tobias Whalen says, skyfish, and he will battle you to the death, or battle Adam to the death over what the proper term is. Rods are it's just these little things that show up in photos, okay? And a lot of people say they're just bugs, right? It's just bugs. It's just the fucking shutter speed on the camera not catching up, and you get these rod-looking things. But Adam's figured it out. Adam found out that rods actually come from sea monsters. And
see, that would explain it.
Exactly. It's like they're eggs, okay? So they release the rods into the air, and then they go off, kind of like turtles do, right? The turtles come and lay their eggs on the beach, and then the turtles got to make their way back to the ocean. Mm-hmm. The rods are released out in the air. They have to go find a lake or somewhere to, to live at. If they happen at a lake that already has a lake monster in it, then the lake monster will then eat the rod for sustenance. And if not, if it's not already populated, then it will go ahead and take a home right there in that lake. And that makes the most sense to me. So.
I always thought there was something a little fishy about them.
Did you that was on purpose, wasn't it?
That was improv, baby. We had no notes there. I came up with that on my own.
All on
that is what 4 years and $17,000 at Second City will get you. All right. I can make dad jokes on the fly.
This is why you're the co-host of the show, Pato. Anyway, yeah, we did that whole show on cattle mutilation. Go check it out. Who knows what's going on with it? Obviously, same shtick, right? All these cows have been found. They're missing their tongues. There's no blood anywhere. There's no signs of predators. They're missing their eyeballs. Their buttholes. Whatever.
Sometimes cows just do that. I don't know.
Sometimes cows just do that. But it's a thing, and it's going on, and it's probably been the most light that we've had shed on cattle mutilation in recent years. So, Who knows? I'm tired of the press struggling with itself, right? UFOs aren't, UAPs aren't a thing, and cows are getting mutilated because of what? Whatever.
Right.
Sometimes cows just do that. So
Sometimes couches do that.
that's my news for the week.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the UAP thing. I was also gonna do some research into what was going on with the blue check mark stuff this week, because that was all over the news. And of course, my favorite social media platform, as any regular listener of the show knows, is Twitter. I'm a huge Twitter fan. Twitter is my favorite app on my phone, and the whole it's been kind of all over the place lately, which is a beautiful thing. I love the dumpster fire that Twitter has become, and I will not be leaving it anytime soon. And if anyone wants to create a parody account of me, I go right ahead. Red, I'm looking at you, buddy. If there's anyone that could do it, it'd be him. So I don't have that. I did want to provide a quick update about the Flat Earth Files, because I have not lost interest in that rabbit hole. I'm still just, fucking around with it. And a couple things. Number one, the Flat Earth Files is not hosted by Flat Earth Dave. It is hosted by a gentleman named George. Don't know his last name, don't know anything else about him, but I was mistaken when I had said that earlier, so I do apologize for that. Number two, I noticed that so I've gone to the website, theflatearthfiles.com, and when I first heard about this show about a week or two ago, about 2 weeks ago, the website has one of those old school counters, right? Like how many people have been to the website.
Oh yeah.
And the first time I went to the website, there was 500 plus visits, right? A week later, right before we recorded last week's episode, I went back to the website and it had jumped about 100. Okay. This weekend, when I was putting together notes for the show, I went to the website for a third time and it was at over 800.
Oh.
So the show's popularity or whatever is gaining exponentially, right? Now I don't know if that translates all into podcast plays or whatever, but definitely this thing's picking up steam. I've also this between
You
this
think that's
week
our
and
fault, or rather your fault?
because of me going to the website. I mean, I might be clicking it up one.
No, because of you talking about it to people on the show last week.
Oh, I don't. I mean, if you guys are like, reach out. Let's talk about it on Twitter. Like, let's start our own little fan group or whatever. Or like, I kind of want to go undercover. I have so much I want to talk about this. So, number one, one of the interviews. So the show's format is mostly like interviews with flat Earth people, which is sometimes hit or miss. Sometimes they come across like nutty and it's kind of depressing. Sometimes it's like really entertaining. And one of the guys that they had on was a former QAnon person, and they got into this discussion about how after the QAnon movement revealed itself to be a hoax, that's what led him to exploring flat Earth. So I thought that was interesting. Like, you go from that to this. But I guess some people do, and it felt like a very common thing. And it was also interesting to hear people publicly that were former QAnon people, because that whole thing just kind of petered out. And I mean, we talked about this a little bit before on the show. I have QAnon people that I'm close with. Oh, yeah. And I definitely noticed like they just kind of stopped. And I wondered, like, is it just because there's no material there? Do they still hold those beliefs? And it was interesting to hear somebody come in and talk about like how this is what we thought was happening, but the arrests never happen. If anything, like Trump's going to get arrested now, and like that is so that whole thing that they were involved with was just part of the distraction from the fact that we live on a flat Earth. Everything is a distraction, which I don't necessarily disagree with. These people by no means are like trans rights or anything by nature, but one of the opinions that I've heard echoed on a couple of their episodes is like, who gives a fuck about this Bud Light nonsense? Who gives a fuck that Bud Light has a trans spokesperson? And then you have Kid Rock, our Lord and Savior, on Twitter shooting up fucking cases of Bud Light. Like this is all spectacle. None of this matters to your average person. None of us give a shit about this. And they're trying to convince us that we should give a shit about it. We should give a shit who Bud Light's spokesperson is. And we should give a shit what Kid Rock's reaction to it is. right? But in reality, it's really not important in the grand scheme of things because it's all a distraction from the fact that we live on a flat earth. So it's like you have me in the first part of that conversation, and then it's like, oh, but it's just a distraction from the fact that we live on a flat plane or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid on it. I still believe that we live on a globe. Um, the geocentric model of the universe, not the heliocentric model. I'm learning the language.
Gosh, and like 3 months, you're gonna be like, I have. What do they say? I've awoken. Is that what they say?
I've had my awakening. I've embraced the truth. No, this is what we're gonna do while you're gone. Is like we're gonna have flat Earth people on. We're gonna transform this into a flat Earth podcast overnight. When you come back, you're gonna have to clean house, have to flip tables.
Come back like, oh God, you just tanked everything up so hardcore.
So that was what else did I want? There was something else I wanted to bring up too that I was like totally like kind of impressed by. I mean, I talked about the military thing last week. He's got a lot of ex-military on, which is kind of weird, which makes me wonder if this is part of a disinformation campaign or if they're all nuts or if they really saw something. I don't think any of that though. It's just, I guess, when it comes down to it, to a lot of the people, if you were to get squatchers to sit down and debate the nature of Bigfoot, to a very large segment of the population, that conversation would sound like complete and total fucking nonsense, right? So, but we would respect those people's opinions and we'd want to hear what they have to say, right? So, I'm not comparing people that believe in Bigfoot to flat earthers, but just remember everyone's beliefs sound ridiculous to somebody. And all you can do is just kind of, if you're so inclined, is just kind of listen and evaluate their logic. And that's it, the documentary, the Level documentary. So that was something that they talk a lot about, is this documentary called The Level, right? Or Level. Came out in 2021. Once again, I have to print a retraction. I incorrectly stated last week that it was available on Tubi. Now, if you search The Level documentary 2021, it tells you that it's available on Tubi. And it will even provide you to a link to watch the movie on Tubi. But once you go to Tubi, it's not there. What that's about, I have no idea. I don't know how Tubi runs their house. I'm sure it's pretty fucking half-assed. But it's not there. However, you can find it on YouTube for free. So I watched the Level documentary last week. And it's only an hour long. So people, Ashers, you might hold your interest if you don't throw your shoe at the TV. And it is very not convincing at all. But and then at the last 15 minutes devolve into like a Neil deGrasse Tyson call out tape where it's just people being like, you're a fucking punk ass bitch, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Why won't you fucking come on TV and debate me? It's like, because he's a fucking physicist and you're a jerk off. Like,
right.
Why would he do that? But I guess he did supposedly have a debate scheduled on Joe Rogan's show that he backed out of at the last minute. Now, maybe he had really important fucking scientist shit to do. I don't know. But that did happen. The other thing that they really hang on, which is we've talked about it, it's commonly accepted fact, is that NASA, our whole entire space program, and that all that information that came out of that and evidence that's come out of that, I mean, NASA was kind of founded by who? You have people like Jack Parsons, and then you have people like Werner von Braun. You know what I mean? So you have a occultist and you have a Nazi. And that to them proves that anything that came out of NASA is bullshit and is evil by nature. Now, that logic doesn't exactly pan out, but I mean, we all know about Operation Paperclip. We know that's true. That's not made up. So the fact that they doubt NASA because it had its beginnings with a bunch of Nazi scientists that were brought over after the war, I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's kind of like what these guys do is they get a little bit of info and they just kind of cling on to it. You know what I mean? And they kind of stop looking at the big picture. Our space program was started by Nazis. Now, it doesn't mean that they were lying about everything, But are they reliable narrators? I don't know. But what about people that weren't Nazis? Okay, yeah, but they were occultists. Once again, does that necessarily mean that they're lying and they're unreliable narrators? Well, no. But if you're a red-blooded Christian American that fears Jesus, I mean, it's enough to make you question it and not really want to buy it hook, line, and sinker. And they also talk about like how much money do we spend on the space program, and they have issues with the space program because of all kinds of stuff. They pick apart all the outer space footage. They think it was filmed in underwater tanks, and no one's ever been to the moon because of some asteroid belt shit, like all this stuff. And I'm not subscribing to it, but it's been an interesting distraction these past couple weeks. So
I will, after hearing everything that you said, Pato, and I think you put it in a really great way. I think that you really framed that in a very nice, respectful, understandable way. But fuck those flat earthers. So that's my stance. That's why people love the show. We don't have to agree. We don't agree on this. But I still respect. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I'm not saying that you're a flat earther or anything, but I just
it's
I have no mercy.
I finished reading Bret Easton Ellis's new book about 2 weeks ago, and instead of starting a new book to read, I just started doing this in my free time. So I'll get bored of this, and then I'll start reading another book. Oh, I take that back. I read Lyle Blackburn's Lizard Man book in between.
Yeah. Well, but that's the beautiful thing about it, Pat, is that some of our listeners are going to hear this show, and guess what? They're going to side with you. They're like, oh, yeah, I love that Flat Earth Files or whatever. And some people are listening, they're going to side with me, and I don't give a shit as long as you're listening to my show. So
I am halfway. See, here's the thing. So it's from looking at this guy's show. All you have to do is email him and say you're a flat earther, and he'll have you on the show. I kind of want to go on, but I can't.
What?
Just fucking pretend like I'm a flat earther, like because I'm into performance art. Because I spent 19 years and $17,000 at Second City so that I can improv. Like, I just think it would be funny, and if I got away with it, like okay, they're like it. I don't know if this is so off topic. Who gives a shit? You ever watch like those courtroom drama shows, like People's Court?
Oh yeah,
or Judge Mathis? Okay, you know that so how they get their guests is whenever you file a lawsuit, it's a matter of public record, right? The producers from those shows then contact the people that have interest in signing lawsuits and ask them if they want to come on the air and have Meredith Mignon or whatever settle their dispute, right? So in LA, there's a lot of where they film these shows, and Chicago where they do Judge Mathis. There's a lot of people that will file ridiculous, fraudulent lawsuits that are like struggling actors so that they can get called to be on the show, and they just have to keep it up. And when I was on TikTok, there was a guy who's a stand-up comedian who would post clips of all his old courtroom show appearances. Because when he first moved to LA, him and his roommates would sue each other for bullshit just to hopefully get called by the People's Court.
And what if they don't get called by the People's Court?
Well, then you dismiss the lawsuit.
Wow.
It's like your roommates, and like, okay, it'd be like me and you saying, Ashers, I'm suing you because, I don't know, because you stole my fucking Bigfoot cast or something, right?
Sure.
I had evidence. Me and you were squatchers, and I had evidence, and you took it, and I'm suing you to get my Bigfoot foot mold back. And they'll see that and be like, "Oh, this looks funny," and then they'll fly us both to LA. And let's say I'm suing you for $5,000, and you're countersuing me for $2,000. They'll say, "All right, guys, no matter who wins in court, you're both getting your money. We'll pay you guys both off." So we get $7,000 that we split down the middle. And all we have to do is go on in front of the judge for 10 minutes and have an entertaining back and forth. And there's people that do this all the time. It's a big scam. All right?
And then we get into a fight because you're like, well, I got 5, so I'm going to keep my 5. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. Now you said down the middle. And then I have to actually sue you.
Right.
And then we go back again.
Because if there's one thing there's one thing I've proven, and duration of our friendship is that I'm trying to fuck you out of money.
No,
but
I'm just saying, you just keep the cycle going, and they're
well,
like,
yeah.
go back to the people's court,
And
and
then
they're
you
like,
get
oh, well,
called
they were
back
on my
on.
time.
Yeah, you get called back on to fucking settle that one. So yeah, I mean, it's a gift that keeps on giving. But no, I mean, so that's what I'm saying. Like, there's people that do that. So this would be my flat Earth thing. It's like I would.
But you're not getting paid for it.
Yeah, but I think it'd be funny if I could pull it off. The thing is, though, is that I would have to like either create a fake ID. Like I couldn't tell him that I do this podcast because the first thing he would do is listen to the podcast and he'd hear me talking to you about this, right?
Yeah, and then his army would come after us. No, Frank, California.
Ooh, that is a good one. Frank. California.
Anyway, yeah, what else you got? What else you got going on, Pato? Before I get to the Dover Demon. All right,
let's get to the Dover Demon.
All right, that's what the people are here for. They don't like our banter. They're not here for the banter. They're here for the Dover Demon, for just the topics.
Sure. Oh wait, I'm sorry. One more thing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm just kidding.
So I had put up on Twitter, "Hey, I'm getting ready to record this week's show. Do you guys have any questions that you want to ask us?" And we had 2 questions come in. So real quick from Eddie the Axe, what is our favorite pizza? What's your favorite pizza?
What does that mean? Is that pizza place, pizza type, pizza toppings? What does that mean?
Let's talk about, well, all it says is favorite pizza. So what's your favorite toppings on a pizza?
I just get cheese.
I like sausage and pepperoni. And then Daniel from Blue Room Insight wants to know what's your favorite or best episode from Wednesday Talk?
Oh man. Whew, that's a hard one. I really like our Men in Black episode. That's a top for me. Skinwalker Ranch, that was another really good one. I'm only supposed to pick one though, right? Usually keep going.
I will say any episode with Red. He's usually very, very entertaining. And the Alan Greenfield one I thought was interesting. I'm glad that we did that.
I keep forgetting that we had him on, but yeah, you're right, we did.
That was kind of not saying that we haven't had good guests on, but it was a good get. And I think we did well with it.
Good. I'll be honest with you. My favorite episodes that we've done with our, you know what? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say my favorite guest because then I'm going to hurt people's feelings.
Oh.
So, if you want to know who my favorite guests have been, go to the Patreon. Patreon.
Oh, that's right. That's what we should have said.
I'll put it out there.
My favorite episodes, they're all behind the paywall.
Oh, behind the paywall.
That's where all my favorite episodes are.
Actually, Weird World has been a banger. So, I mean, if you're not listening to Weird World, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Obviously, you're not paying me your $8 a month to listen to it. So,
that's something that we could do if we need content for a week while you're in recovery, is we could just do the, because we did that once before just so people could get a taste. Because the next Weird World we're doing is on Illinois.
Yeah.
In my hometown. So,
yeah.
Maybe we can make that one public and that'll buy us a week.
We'll see. We'll talk about it. So, anyway, Pato, what do you know about the Dover Demon before the episode? What did you know about the Dover Demon?
I knew. I mean, it's one of the big ones. You know what I mean? As far as cryptids go, I did find some new information in researching it that I was pleasantly surprised by. We'll get to that when we get to it, but yeah, I mean, I knew that it was kind of like it was a relatively brief flap, I guess you could say, that happened. Dover, Massachusetts. I knew it was back in the day, didn't know the exact date. And it's just something that kind of pops up from time to time. Now, what I always thought was interesting is that it's up there with like cryptids, and it's up there with like bizarre cryptid visitor, like the Van Meter visitor or shit like that. But it's kind of like a gray. Like that's what always was a little bit confusing to me, because if you look at the description or the depictions that I would see when I would come across this in literature or whatever, it really seemed like an alien, and I didn't get why this was a cryptid and why it was regaled into that kind of like stack. You know what I mean? And not like an alien thing.
I can take on that challenge. I'm happy to take on that question and answer it. Not yet, but I will. But I agree with what you're saying so far. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. Did you know that the Dover Demon isn't actually his name?
I didn't know it had a name. What was its name?
Well, his first name is Ben.
Okay.
Ben Dover Demon.
Jesus. How long did
glad
you
I
go to
got to
Second
laugh
City
at it.
for? Jesus. I didn't know you're a fellow alumni.
The Ben Dover Demon. No, that's not true. That's a lie. Don't go tell the Dover Demon that I said his name's Benny. He gets very angry. So the Dover Demon is, like Pat O said, a big one, which is weird because it was only seen like within a span of like 24 hours. Not even, I think it was 25 to be exact.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll just go through the sightings themselves because there's 3 of them, and we'll go from there. So the first one started, it was in 1977 in April. That's why we're talking about it, because we just hit the anniversary. So it was spotted by teenager William Bartlett, Bill Bartlett. He was driving around with a couple of buddies, Mike Mazzocco, and Andy Brody. One night they were just driving around at 10 p.m. They were looking for beer. He was very forward about that. And his headlights, Bill was driving, his headlights of the car caught this wall, this like stone wall that's on this, road that they were driving down. And he saw whatever the fuck this thing was, crawling down the wall. And initially he just thought, hey, stray cat, stray dog, stray something, but he got a really good look at it, and it was horrifying. So Bill said that its eyes were glowing in the headlights. It was not a dog or a cat. It had no tail. It had an egg-shaped head. He described it as having no mouth, no nose, no ears. It reminded him of children with distended stomachs, which we'll forgive because this was in the 1970s. He was really baffled by this thing. He described the head as being like watermelon sized, and it was like tannish, grayish in color. He really couldn't describe it. And so Bill saw this thing, and he starts freaking out to his passengers. Oh my God, did you guys see that? Did you guys see that? And they were like, no, we didn't. We don't know what you're talking about. So he was kind of like freaking out. And they're like, well, go back, guy. Let's go check this out. And he's like, no, hell no, I'm not going back there. And I don't, he said that. I didn't want to be anywhere where that thing was.
Right.
He did eventually turn back around, and he didn't see it again. And then Bill continued on his night. He went home, and his father noticed he was visibly upset. And so he told his dad what happened. And, he drew a picture of the creature, and, well, that's all she wrote. I mean, that was the first sighting of the Dover Demon. But this is the part that makes it extra interesting. This is what sets this apart from, like, the Flatwoods Monster. 2 hours later, 15-year-old John Baxter was walking home from his girlfriend's house, and he was walking down that same road. I think it was Farm Street, I believe is what it was called. And he saw a person kind of also walking towards him. And Dover, Massachusetts is a small town, especially in the 1970s. It's very dark. There's no street lamps. I mean, he's just kind of walking through the countryside, walking home. And he sees, again, what he thought was a person walking towards him. And as this person kind of starts getting closer to him, he thinks that it's a child because it's not very large. And, and he's kind of yelling out at it. He's like, hey, he thinks it's somebody. He's like, hey, Ben, is that you?
I have, can I interject real quick?
Sure.
So I found an interview online with Lauren Coleman, and he's describing this exact incident that you're describing, but he includes one detail that I wanted to see if you brought up and you didn't. So
okay,
I'm going to do it right now.
Sure.
This is from Coleman's recounting of his interview with John Baxter. Up in front of him, he saw this thing, the shadowy figure, walking upright like a little human, Coleman said, and Baxter noted the being's large head. He knew a friend in the neighborhood that had a head that was bigger than normal, and he thought it was his friend. So he started yelling, MJ, is that you? But it wasn't him, and the creature didn't respond.
Yeah, that's like, can you imagine being in for a dream about that shit later?
Hey, my head's not that big, but MJ, I guess, had a big fucking noggin and was mistaken for the Dover.
He was mistaken for the Dover Demon. Oh
So
my
who are these
god,
people? And oh my god.
that's really
Anyway,
funny. Um,
that's literally my only contribution to the segment.
That was a good contribution, though. That was a
big
good
head thing. Okay.
So John Baxter's yelling at it. It's not responding, and it just kind of stops. And then he continues to pursue it. He's not afraid, and it takes off. It runs off into the woods there, and he chases it. Fucking balls of steel on John Baxter. 15-year-old John Baxter chases this fucking thing. And, eventually it had, come upon a tree and it just like stood still for a minute. And he finally got a look at what it was. And, he described the same fucking thing that, that Bill described, this weird creature. I don't think he described the glowing eyes, which is important to note. But he did describe this, large head, large eyes, and, tendril-like hands. He said that the feet of this thing were standing on these rocks, and they were like molded to the rock. So very simian-like, very much kind of ape-like, but tan, hairless. Again, something that we don't really have in Dover, Massachusetts. So, very, very interesting. And then the very next night, Abby Brabham, I don't know how the fuck to say her name. Old Abby was whoring around with her 18-year-old boyfriend. She was only 15 at the time. Just trying to make it interesting, but that part's true. They were driving around, and her and her boyfriend actually saw the same exact thing, but standing in the road, and they had stopped. Now the boyfriend didn't really; he just kind of caught a glimpse of it. He didn't actually see it in full detail, but she saw it and, described exactly the same fucking creature, big ass MJ ass fucking head, long skinny body, barely any neck, fingers, long slender fingers. And they got the hell out of there. Bill Bartlett has gone on to, the first witness, has gone on to talk about this thing relentlessly. This has kind of become his thing, it's what he's known for. And, quote that I wanted to mention that he had said, years later was, in a lot of ways, it's kind of embarrassing to me. I definitely saw something. It was definitely weird. I didn't make it up. Sometimes I wish I had. And, I don't know. Quotes like that are very telling to me with these individuals,
I have another quote from him that I thought
Sure.
was interesting. Bartlett said that I don't think it was an extraterrestrial creature. It was probably something earthly, but it wasn't any animal I had ever seen, and I know everything that could be mangy. This thing was larger than those animals. So that's an interesting distinction to make. And I wonder if that's something that's set out of self-preservation just to make himself seem less crazy or something.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to say that. I don't think it was I don't know what it was, but I know it wasn't an alien. Well, motherfucker, if you don't know what it was, how do you know it wasn't an alien?
Well,
the glowing eyes thing, because the glowing eyes are reported in the encounters where there's cars. I wonder if that's just a reflection of the lights.
Right.
My desktop image is of my son when he was like 4 years old, taking a piss outside, and we were at a party, and he snuck off around the corner of the house to pee on the side of the house, and we went to go see where he went, and we saw him taking a piss. We took a picture of it, and he's got the red eyes from the flash, right?
Yeah.
Where it reflects off his eyes. So I wonder if I don't think it necessarily maybe had glowing eyes. It might have just been the reflection of the headlights or something, but definitely it has a very otherworldly appearance.
Yeah.
To where I don't. That's where my head went, at least.
Well, the eyes really remind me of cat's eyes, because Bill had described it as having orange, glowing orange eyes, and Abby had described it as having glowing green eyes. And cats do this thing where, I don't know, like when you're petting your cat, you can kind of tell when you should stop petting it because her eyes start to get really big, and then they start reflecting like red. Okay. I have green-eyed cats. If I take a picture of them with the flash on, when they're regular eyed, the eyes are going to be green. But if I take a picture with them when they have those big ass "I'm going to attack you" eyes, they're red. So, which is interesting because I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know how many other animals do that, but I know that if any of them do, it's not normal for the eye color to change with the light reflection. So I probably should have read up on that a little bit more. I know a little bit about eye shine, but not too much. I know enough because I own cats and I know that happens. So, but anyway, Lauren Coleman went and with a bunch of other people that I guess nobody gives a shit about. I've never heard of these guys. And they went and investigated the situation and, talked to the witnesses and things like that. Lauren is very much a flesh and blood type of person. And I don't know if that's just in recent years or what. But he's very, if you don't know Lauren Coleman and you listen to the show, I don't know what you're doing with your life. But he's pretty skeptical. And when it came to the Dover demon, he was pretty much like he was on top of the fact that like this was strange and this wasn't an animal. He was very adamant that it wasn't an animal. He seemed to think that there was something else to this at the time. Now, of course, this was 1970s Lauren, compared to 2023 Lauren. So, who knows? I'll ask him at Monster Fest when we go. He'll be there. But, they went and investigated. They found that the witnesses were credible. Some people think that the witnesses, all being teenagers, were, knew each other and were doing some type of prank. They didn't know about the other sightings, when they had reported their own individually. Some people think that they just saw a baby moose, and that is not what baby moose look like. It's just not. And they don't stand on their hind legs.
And they have hooves. And so many people make the finger description is so prevalent
with all three of them.
Yeah. So how could it be any hooved animal?
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't even make any sense at all. And it had a giant ass watermelon head,
just like MJ.
Just like MJ.
Good old MJ.
MJ got fucking strung out that weekend.
Hey, MJ's a good time down at the bar, right?
MJ. We have a bar here called MJ's. It's a gay bar.
Maybe MJ
very popular.
Likes it up the shit pipe. Who knows?
Bend over demon. But anyway, so the reason why, Pato, you asked that question, why is this classified as a cryptid? Well, I think the reason for it is because when you look at some of the indicators of the situation, it seems very much more like a terrestrial type of creature, right? It was seen within a 24-hour period in the same area. A lot of people seem to take note that it was, it was near a water source. I don't know if that matters or not, So, I mean, I guess there is a possibility of some sorts that maybe this was something terrestrial. I disagree that it is. But here's something else that I don't ever see anybody talk about. In that same area in 1972, 5 years before these sightings took place, someone else saw this thing. Someone else saw this exact creature. Mark Sennett, I think. I don't know. Mark saw this thing. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. And he saw it. He was out there, and that's kind of along in that same general area. He was in Dover, and he's driving around with a bunch of buddies, and he didn't see the body of whatever this thing was. What him and his buddies saw were, guess what? These large orange glowing eyes in the wood, in like the wood line. And they had heard, they'd seen this thing or, heard it kind of scuffle around and, whatnot. He didn't know what the hell it was, but he laughed. Now, okay, it could have been anything. Sure. It could have been anything. Sure. But it could also have been a similar creature, same creature 5 years earlier. I don't know. And then there's a lot of talk about people are like, oh, well, this something like this has never been seen before, ever, anywhere in the entire world. That's just not fucking true. It's just not true at all. One of the hot ticket creatures that people talk about nowadays is, well, it's the rake. Which we sort of touched on kind of when we had, what's his name? Tony Walsh on talk about his movie, The Rake. But the rake isn't real. The rake is a creepypasta. But what it describes, the creature that the rake is described as being, is like a pale humanoid type creature. Big head, tan gray skin, big eyes, big fingers. These things have been around forever. These types of creatures have been around forever. I mean, you've got the indigenous people that talk about you find it anywhere. Over across the pond, they're referred to as ghouls. It's the same fucking thing. It's the same creature. I believe that it may even be what is responsible for what some of the indigenous people term the Wendigo. I think the Wendigo sightings are exactly that fucking creature, and it's been around for a very long time. Pato, what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, but sightings once every 5 years, and I mean, has there been recurring sightings since? Did we kill the last one in 1977? Indigenous people may have described seeing something kind of similar in the area, but like, if it was native to that area, you would see it at least somewhat infrequently, right? And these sightings are so far spread out. I don't think it's anything that could be living there full time.
Well, right. That's if you were saying it's terrestrial. I don't think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you get these one-offs, when you get these things that kind of appear, and a handful of people see them over the course of a night or two, and then, even if they don't come back even if they come back 5 years later, still, what happened all the time in between then? Were the things running around in the middle of the night, fucking bumping into people and shit, and everybody, and you have 3 different people see it in a town of like that's relatively small where there ain't that many motherfuckers walking around, but yet 3 people saw it over the course of 25 hours.
Yeah.
That's a pretty pronounced presence. And then it just vanishes and no one ever sees it again. Obviously, it wasn't living there.
Right.
If it had gone to ground, even somebody at some point would have seen it.
Would have seen it, right?
So
Closer
that
to
made
the time, yeah.
So then it kind of comes and goes. Is it transdimensional? Are there portals? Was it an alien? Did it land and then walked around and then fucking got up? And I don't know. There's this Stephen King book called From Buick 8, which is about this Buick 8 that has a portal in its trunk that sometimes things come out of and sometimes people get sucked into. And there's a state trooper like patrol that's kind of just this thing sitting in their garage, and they're in charge of it and they don't really know what to do with it, and it's just this car that they hold on to. They found it in the gas station, they towed it to their garage, and they kind of locked it away. And over the course of 30-40 years, there's a handful of incidents that occur with it, and the book kind of recounts these incidents throughout basically the 60s to the 2000s. And I always think of like that kind of, where like, because what happens in the book is that one of the state troopers gets sucked into it, and at a later date, I think the government gets involved and they send people in to explore, and they realize that when that trooper got sucked into it, he lived for a certain amount of time in that other world, and fought these things that live there, because they found a little, like on an outcrop, they found like his hat and his gun next to a mound of rocks, and it meant that like he gave such good battle against the indigenous people that they built this monument to the state trooper. And Stephen King fans, I might be fucking that up a little bit, but that's how I remember the story. And I think about that when I hear stories like this. Like, what if this thing was just like some creature that was walking along, like back from the fishing hole, and whatever planet it's from, and whatever fucking section of reality, and it just got zapped here, and it wandered around for a couple days, trying to figure out what the fuck was happening, until either it found its way back or it died or whatever, or we captured it or it was killed. There's that story about the thing that was running across the street when the guy was driving, and clawed up his car and stuff.
Oh, yeah, they shot at it and shit.
Lyle Blackburn brings that up in his book, and those weird one-off encounters where this kind of remarkable thing shows up and then whatever, and then leaves and never to be really seen or heard from again. It had to have come from somewhere. It had to go somewhere. So that's why I just kind of think like maybe these things and you look at all the people that go missing the missing 411 stuff. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what happens to us too. Sometimes we accidentally, we're walking through the woods and we find ourselves fucking teleported somewhere, and we spend the last horrific hours of our lives trying to run around while these things look at us and scream. I don't know. I do not know.
That was pretty good. I agree with that. I think this happened. I think they saw whatever the fuck this thing was.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I believe it. Why not?
I don't think that, I hate to say it, but I don't think we're going to catch it,
Oh, no, it's long gone.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, right. It doesn't live here. So if it doesn't live here, I mean, your best chances is just that if it comes to you. And then, what are you going to do? I guess you can try to shoot at it. Does that work? Probably not. I don't know. I think that, I think this was a thing that totally existed at some point. And I think that, it probably still exists, not here, but it still exists somewhere. And people still see it. And, much like talking about the Mothman, there's people just call it by a different name in different areas of the world, wherever they see it. And some people probably don't even fucking report seeing these things at all. Because would you? A lot of people don't. Well, we probably would. And the listeners probably would. But a lot of average, everyday fucking Joes don't. They don't report this kind of stuff to people.
Yeah. That's a really good point to bring up. And I think that's something that we should always keep in the back of our heads, is that the stories that we know about are what fraction, what percentage of the stuff that actually happens.
Right.
The stuff that kind of gets absorbed into our collective lore is, we don't even know. We don't even know what percentage of that is of the stuff that happens. And in no way is it a complete picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're not hearing every story. You have not heard every Bigfoot story. You have not this thing may show up every 7 years and we just don't know about it or something,
I mean, well, that's true. Again, nobody's caught it to ask it, The one guy tried, but it was like, "Why are you calling me NJ? My name's Ben," and took off, I think it is an interesting story. It's again, I think something certainly happened. They absolutely saw something. What that something was, who knows? Maybe one day we'll have the glory of reaching different depths of perception and be able to figure that out. But I do think it's interesting. I wanted to mention real quick, when we had her on the show, twice. Kinsey Gleason had a theory about the Dober demon, that it was the same phenomena as the Melonheads. Remember the Melonhead story?
Yeah, and I thought about that when they talked about good old MJ. But once again, if you're talking about something that's terrestrial, and there'd be more sightings of.
That still doesn't mean it's terrestrial, but the Melonheads may not be terrestrial. Again, people have reported seeing the Melonheads. Maybe that's not what they were seeing. They were seeing whatever the Dober demon is, the same creature.
Oh, I thought the Melonheads was like there was like a commune of like circus freaks or something out in the woods.
Well, there is, but that doesn't mean that they live out in the woods. They might not actually live out in the woods. It's just people think that they do because that's where they've seen them.
Yeah.
Just like any creature. I mean, people say, Bigfoot. Some people think Bigfoot's interdimensional or whatever. I mean, I don't, but some people do. There's that. I mean, we don't know. Nobody's ever sat down with a Melonhead kid and talked to him. Could be the same thing. But I thought that was fun because I've never heard that theory anywhere else. Another theory that I did like a lot was, it being a potential extraterrestrial scout.
Yeah.
I thought
but I don't know. But wouldn't it? That's so lo-fi. Like, you're gonna send something. I don't know. I mean, but maybe that's just our conception of how we think this would play out. But like the fact that like these things would fly here in spaceships and then get out completely naked and have no technology on them. Like, shouldn't he have like a mech suit or something? Like a space suit or like something with like.
Maybe he is wearing a spacesuit.
I don't know. Like if he's a scout, like where are his like instruments to take readings and shit. Shouldn't he have a tricorder or like a suit that's like reading the air?
I mean, how do we know that he doesn't have those things that he was seen for like 2 seconds?
Just seems like he was just completely organic. Like there was no technology associated with him. At least the frogman had a wand. You know, we had accessories.
Only one of them had a wand.
This sounds like something that was fucking just dumped here on accident. It was like running around, crawling on the sides of fucking embankments and shit with his long ass fingers, like just trying to fucking survive 1 minute to the next, knowing that it's never going to see its fucking kids again.
Maybe. Could be.
Enjoying the vacation. Like, fuck it, I'll die in some peace.
You know, that's the fun thing about these kinds of stories is that there's so many possibilities of what the fuck it could have possibly been.
Yeah, I think shit gets warped here sometimes, and then it just runs around and people see it and then it dies.
Yep. Me too. It dies or it gets warped back for whatever reason. I don't know what the secret is there, but I think that's what happens. So
Yeah.
and they just fall off the flat earth and then they're never seen again. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
What's the clown? What's the clown guy?
the Sandown clown.
Yeah. That's what I want to party with.
It's one of my favorites, actually. One of the pictures, because you know, honestly, the X-Files room at the alien exhibit that we're doing, you know, she really wanted it to be like mostly local stuff, and it mostly is. But if we're talking like pictures of like UFOs and things like that, I had to kind of branch out. I did put a picture up of Sam, the Sandown clown, because it's one of my favorites, and some other fun stuff. So, because that story is fucking wow, that's a good episode right there.
The Sandown clown.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's a good one. So, anything else you want to say about the Dover Demon, Pato?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, then, with that being said, guys, we'll see you back here next Wednesday.